G'day guys and welcome. My name is Michael and I am the DeadAussieGamer, here to share with you my tips, tricks, ideas and strategies for playing and running tabletop role-playing games. Today is our final video on the 7 deadly GM sins. Today looking at probably the most dangerous of them all, conflict. Now, I'm not talking about conflict in the sense of having a really cool antagonist in your story, one who's got lots of plots and schemes that your players have to overcome. We are talking about creating a conflict between the GM and the players. Now, far be it from me to say that every GM needs to be always sunshines and rainbows. Sometimes we have bad days. Sometimes we can be in bad moods. And these things and these moments are singular and not really an issue. You know, you can overcome them with some hot cocoa and some kind words. But some GMs use conflict to fuel their GMing side, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. What do we do when conflict becomes the driving force of our campaign? Now, I liken conflict as a sin to a dragon. Mostly because, unlike the rest of the sins, there is no living with a GM who is suffering with the sin of conflict. It is either you tiptoe around them while they humbly slumber, their huge, heaving, dark, evil breath threatening to wake at any moment, or engaging in this conflict and getting into a roaring battle with this vicious winged beast as it slowly tries to burn down you and everything and everyone you love. This is, for me, conflict. Now, what is conflict? Why is it so terrifying? Why have I used the most terrifying and horrible creature from Dungeons and Dragons to define this thing? Well, conflict is all about creating a sense of GM versus the players. That there is a need for either the GM to succeed by defeating the players, or that the players need to somehow or another prove themselves to the GM as an individual. This is a very destructive type of game, and one that can very easily implode, and let me explain why. Let's say, for example, that our GM is a thwartist. Now, a thwartist is someone who creates obstacles as a reaction to people solving problems. A great example of this was a game I was playing not too long ago, where I was playing a rogue who needed to break into Town Hall. Now, our objective was very simple: get the map from Town Hall. So we went to Town Hall during business hours. We spoke to the receptionist. Obstacle 1. The receptionist said that the person who would authorize us to view the map was this person. They, however, were not available and were only available after reviewing our case in the morning. Okay, so there's nothing we could have done there. New obstacle. We have to wait till morning. The problem was that we could wait till morning, but at the same time, it's like, well, if the GM wants us to wait, chances are we're probably not going to get it. Otherwise, we would have just gotten it there and then. So we have me, the rogue, trying to break in to steal the map. Easy done. The GM then says, well, there is an alarm spell on the door. Well, I didn't really have the ability to disarm the alarm, so I guess we're setting it off. As we set it off, we said, okay, cool. We're going to have our group of guys send a distraction into the distance. If any guards show up, they'll run off. The guards will chase them. All will be well and done. So I break in. Alarm goes off. Guy runs off. The guard's taken care of. Beaten another obstacle. Now, within a few moments of us getting in, another pair of guards, irrelevant to the first pair, show up just to search the building. At this point, another one of our players gets captured and taken to prison. We now have to plan a prison break. So that was the whole thing. Now, because my character was unfamiliar with the layout of the entire facility, I had to roll randomly to figure out which room I ended up in, and then roll randomly in that room to determine if I was in the right section, and then roll a perception check in order to try and figure out if I had found the map. Now, after all of this being said and done, and after what was effectively a whole bunch of rolling, I picked up the wrong map, but had no way of identifying that it was the wrong map. I just had a map of the place that I was supposed to get a map of, but it was the wrong map because it was supposed to be done by this specific cartographer. This is a quintessential conflict GM moment. This is not about us achieving an objective. It is about creating a sense of conflict. By thwarting us, there is value in the challenge, and that is what the GM is chasing. Not trying to tell a good story, not the entertainment of the players, but the existence of a conflict. Now, as you can probably tell from hearing that story, that was very boring. And I can tell you one thing. I was incredibly frustrated. I was incredibly angry because it not only ate up a lot of real-time hours, but it also got to the point where we didn't even get a reward for it. So all this effort, all these roles, all that time, one of our guys in jail, all these things amounted to literally nothing. We gained absolutely nothing. And what's worse is the next morning we had to go through another whole set of challenges to get the map. But that's neither here nor there. This is conflict GMing. This is what we're talking about. Another great example is when a GM uses the words, "That's what my monster would do." That is how my monster would realistically behave. This for me is this is discarding your agency as a GM. A GM is the monster. A GM is everything. Okay? And there is definitely a line between a reality simulator and a game. If you, excuse me. Ooh, sorry. Sorry, been talking for a while today. If you as a GM get to a point where you are excusing yourself by saying, and I want to paraphrase this, "I'm sorry, your character has died. This imaginary character possessed me with its understanding of the world physics within this imaginary world that I have created, and in its imaginary existence has decided that you needed to die because that is the most logical thing for it to do, because that is it. I've got no control over this monster. This monster, it's an orc. I mean, you know what orcs are like. Huh, yes, that's right. Well, you know what? Truth is, you don't know what orcs are like. Orcs are whatever your GM makes it. So a GM who turns around and says, "Oh, is what my monster would do?" For me, that's what it rings of. It's just conflict. It's just you want to create a conflict and you don't want to be seen as being the bad guy, but you are the bad guy. It's exactly what it is, right? Oh my God. So yeah, that conflict. So what do we do? What do we do when this happens? Well, as I mentioned before, it is almost impossible to live with someone who is spurring conflict. At the end of the day, the compromise needs to come from either the GM or the players. Either the GM needs to be approached and said quite plainly and frankly, "We are arguing all the time. We are getting into conflicts. We are fighting. We're not having fun. Something needs to change." And either the GM will accept that or the second thing is the players. The player can simply acknowledge the fact that, well, yes, this will just happen, but we're friends. Let's just, as players, look after each other, support each other, and make sure we're all having fun, and we'll see what we can do. Or alternatively, if the GM's having a bad day, some gratitude is never a bad idea, Like, tell them how much you appreciate the fact that they're giving up their time to prepare a game. Maybe, bring them a snack, bring them a cake, Gratitude, I feel like, helps so much with burnout for a GM, but that's another issue. Whatever you decide to do, always remember that you as a player have the right to choose your games. A GM's power comes from the players. It's not from the game. It's not from them being a fantastic, world-renowned GM. It comes from you as a player putting it in their hands. And remember this, because it is your right as a player to say, "This is my precious imagination. It is filled with my time, my effort, my joy, and I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you for you to be able to use and weave into this magical story to bring me on." Because that's what this game is, And if they take that and they abuse it, they try to use it to hold power over people or to create arguments or to create conflict, well, you have every right to take that back and go find someone who's going to truly appreciate you. All right, so that's pretty much everything I had to say on that. You know what? I will throw one more thing out. I feel like I've done that a few times now in these videos. If you find yourself arguing with a GM, now some GMs I know get into a point where they like to discuss rules. Some discuss it more passionately than others. if you find yourself in those moments, I always say, as a player, you have every right to sort of ask to put a pin in a discussion, to say, hey, let's discuss this a little bit later, or can we talk about this later? I think there's a lot more to it, but I don't think we're going to get through it at the game. Don't hesitate to do stuff like that, or even get to the point where you say, oh, look, I need to excuse myself for a few minutes. Let me grab a drink and I'll get back. Because if you end up arguing at a table, it doesn't just ruin your fun, it ruins everyone's fun. Because a GM can only really focus on whoever they're engaging. And if they're engaging with one person arguing over rules, no one's having fun. So yeah, remember that with arguments as well. Doesn't really require just the GM to diffuse the argument. And if you're a spectator of an argument, two people are fighting and you're over here, while it's frustrating for you, and I know so many people who have done this, who just go, oh, can we just get on with it? Believe it or not, that doesn't help. I know that sounds terrible. It feels awful because I know that it's not their fault either. But when someone sighs or shows that strong sense of aggression, like passive aggressiveness, during an argument, it just adds fire to the flames. It's fuel to the flames. Sorry, it just adds to it. Instead, what I recommend is try and calm it down. Offer everyone something like, hey guys, look, while we're taking a break, can I get anyone a drink? Often at that point, someone will go, oh, wow, we're taking a break. Oh, you know what? Yeah, let's talk about this later. Let's keep going. That way you're informing them that time is going, everyone's still doing stuff, and that you currently have nothing better to do than to fetch drinks for people, or to get snacks, or to go and do something that is social and fun. It's a very easy way to disarm an argument. All right. Well, now I'm done. So thank you very much, guys, for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this series. I had a ton of fun making it. If you have any ideas for other things you'd like to hear from, any other series or things like that, leave a message below. Let me know in the chat. And of course, I will get to it as soon as I can. As some of you know, I am heading to the US for Gen Con, so next week I will hopefully be filming and uploading all my experiences over there, the people I'll go see, and of course go hang out and chat with people in all the stuff from below. So come say hi on Discord, do all that sort of stuff, because that is where you will catch me over the next week. Woo! Till next time, guys, as always, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, go check us out on all of our really cool stuff in the links below, and till next time, game hard or die trying. See you guys.